Hello students, and welcome to my second attempt at a screen capture program to try and show you a little presentation about paper writing for this class and what we're looking for. I did do a first attempt and the video setting wasn't quite right, so we're trying again. A quick sidebar for you, I'm going to be showing you a Prezi. For anyone who's unfamiliar with Prezi, it is a seriously fabulous tool. It's kind of like a hyped up, crazy PowerPoint, and you can get it for free with your Biola email address. So if you have a school email address, you can use it for free. And that's prezi.com. If you ever need to make any more PowerPoint type presentations for any classes and you seriously want to impress the pants off of people who don't know what Prezi is, I would strongly suggest trying it. So, my presentation is called Standard Structures, Writing According to the Kleistian Rubric, and you're going to see when I go to this next slide what I'm talking about for titles. I've got my cutesy, alliterative, attention-grabbing title right there, and then there's an invisible colon over here in my imagination, and then the second part is Writing According to the Kleistian Rubric, and that's sort of the preview of the substance of my argument or presentation. So, attention grabber first, and then a preview about what you're going to be seeing or reading afterwards. And here we are at titillating titles. The title is your first opportunity to grab your audience's attention. Like I said, it comes into two parts. The first part sets up some sort of a binary or an attention grabber, and then the second part previews the content of the paper. The last part is bonus points for alliterative titles because we like them. I have had students turn in some really awesome titles, but if you were published or presenting at a conference, all that's going to be there is the title. So that's your opportunity to get people to come and see your paper or read your writing because you've got them thinking, oh, well, that's a fun and interesting title, and I'm interested in the content. So here are some examples of some good ones. Peroration and Publication, Vestiges of the Oral Tradition in Judith and Beowulf, Fantastical Father and Straightforward Son, The Roles of Storytelling in Big Fish, and More Than Machinery, Mike's Human Nature, and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. So you can see in all three, before the colon, here, here, and here, you've got the attention grabber, and all three are alliterative, and they're all interesting. And then afterwards, I know exactly what each of these are about because it says precisely what the main argument is. So for this one, I know that it's about vestiges of the oral tradition in these two pieces. And for Fantastical Father, I know that they're going to be talking about the roles of storytelling in Big Fish. And in More Than Machinery, I know the students writing about Mike's Human Nature and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. So there you can see what we're talking about for titles. For the introduction, I'll tell you that good introductory paragraphs are a skill that is mastered over time, and I really do mean that. I'm on my last semester of my master's degree, and sometimes introductory paragraphs still stump me. In fact, to be quite frank, I will usually leave them for last because they are hard for me to get through. So don't worry if you feel like you're kind of stumped and you want to kind of skip over it and move on to the actual substance of your argument. That's totally fine. Just know that the introduction, when you finally address it, if it's at the beginning or after you've kind of gotten through part of your paper, that's your opportunity to set the stage for your argument, and you've only got a small space, so just provide what you need in order to kind of get to your thesis and then move through your argument. The introduction is how you set the stage for what kind of a paper you're writing and what main work you're trying to do. And here's a little note. You only have 900 words. Use them wisely. You're going to find, if you've never had a 900-word paper before, that it is much shorter than you think it is. And the point behind these little 900-word papers is to get you to articulate a concise, narrow, well-marshaled argument and do it in a narrow space so that there's no room for fluff or silliness. It's just you working through the quotations and giving your thoughtful commentary about why those quotations matter to your argument. So these papers are challenging, but it's going to teach you a lot about how to be subtle with your argument and how to embed quotations well. So don't worry if you feel like it's kind of a pressure space. It is a very small space, and that's why I say only give what's necessary when it comes to your introductory paragraph and your context. The next thing that we have here is the all-powerful thesis. Your thesis should synthesize the heart of your argument into one precise, clearly articulated sentence. So vague terms. An effective thesis is constructed thus in insert text name here. Main argument can be seen in controlling idea A and controlling idea B. So let's say we're talking about, oh, I don't know, Foucauldian panopticism in 1984, then you would say in 1984, you can see a panoptic effect through Winston's changing behaviors, let's say, and the way the proles act, or if you're talking about Winston's behavior before he meets Julia and how Julia behaves when she thinks people might be able to see her, something like that. So I can tell what the text is when I say in 1984, and then the main argument, I'm talking about panoptic effects, and then I'm saying you can see it in this thing and this thing. So I know by the end of your introductory paragraph exactly what you're arguing and what two main things you're using to argue it. Speaking of controlling ideas, introduce and elucidate your controlling ideas in the body of your paper. This should be 90% or more of your 900 words. So what I mean by that is your controlling ideas, you can see, so what in that thesis, fake thesis I just gave you, in 1984, you can see the effects of panopticism and blah and blah. Those two things, those are your controlling ideas. And that's where you're going to be spending the bulk of your paper. The introductory paragraph and the concluding paragraphs are important, and your thesis is absolutely important, but I'm more interested in how do you prove those controlling ideas? How do you introduce your quotations, and how do you form your commentary in order to demonstrate how your quotations prove your thesis? So that's what I mean by that's where your 90% or more of your 900 words should be. And for each controlling idea, you must have 3 pieces of textual evidence. 3 pieces is kind of the magical number for proving something psychologically. I don't know why our brains accept it more than 2 pieces, but it's obvious that 1 piece of textual evidence is tenuous and could easily be disproven. 2 pieces are better than 1 piece of textual evidence, but it's still not quite right. But for whatever reason, 3 is that's a sold argument to us. So find 3 really solid pieces of textual evidence for each of your controlling ideas. And speaking of textual evidence, here's some caveats. Pick your quotations thoughtfully. You don't just throw in any 2 words and call it a quotation. That's not really a quotation or what we're looking for. Your evidence should clearly demonstrate the controlling idea at hand. So pick quotations that demonstrate obviously what your main idea or controlling ideas are your main argument, and use those. Provide the context for your quotation, just enough to remind the reader from whence your selected quotations came. So remind with a brief phrase, give your reader a cue of where in the narrative that quotation is, and then move into your argument. And after you quote the text and provide the citation, you must provide commentary that clearly ties your evidence back to your thesis. This is probably the thing that I do the most out of everything that I cite in this presentation. I am notorious for dropping in maybe brilliant quotations and then not showing why they're important to the argument. So don't just drop your quotations in there and never say what it is about that quotation that's so indicative of your argument. Spend a little phrase or some words after your quotation saying, this quotation is important because, or in this quotation, blah, 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 or whatever it is that you want to say in order to tie it back to your thesis. Just make sure that you make it clear to your reader how it is that your textual evidence proves your argument. Don't leave room for your reader to kind of interpret it on their own. For these papers, sincerely take your reader by the hand and connect the dots for them. Don't leave room for doubt. Also, quote is a verb, quotation is a noun. Do not forget this important fact. Our collective blood pressure thanks you. They are very different words, to be fair. Finishing strong, the conclusion. Your concluding paragraph is where you type your paper and you revisit your main points. So, theoretically, your concluding paragraph should be a mirror image of your introductory paragraph. You want to leave your reader with a restatement of your thesis so that they close the paper after you've presented your argument with the main controlling ideas presented to them again, so that they can go, oh yeah, I just read this paper and I know exactly what it's about because it's the last thing I just read. And it should be a mirror image, and here's why I say that. close with an effective recapitulation of your thesis, and then make sure that you end your paper with the same thesis and controlling ideas with which you started. There's absolutely nothing wrong with getting to the end of a paper and going, oh, I like the way it ended better, but it's not quite the same thesis. Totally fine. That's what proofreading's for. Then you go back to your introduction and you go back to the initial introduction of those main ideas and just change the wording until it matches the thesis that you like at the end. Or if it's that you still like the original idea and it kind of morphed through, go back and see how it changed and then change your concluding paragraph so that it matches. Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you take the time to double check that your thesis at the beginning and the end are the same. Maintain consistent wording. And then here's some various and sundry notes. You're going to be writing in an academic voice, so there's no we or I or you. Maintain a third person voice. So you need to shoot for a dry academic tone of voice, and I know that sounds really dusty, fuddy-duddy, old boring, but that's kind of what we're going for, because when you use I or you or we, it's really informal, and there will be time and place for you to share your opinions, and we want to hear your opinions, but that's not the point of these papers. We're looking for you and your ability to clearly and concisely present an argument. So that's why we say shoot for academic voice and kind of leave the personal or your opinions or appeals to other people's opinions out of it. Secondly, don't make assertions about the author or reader / audience's experiences of the play or text. It's way too subjective and difficult to prove. Obviously, none of us have met with the authors of these pieces, so they can't tell us if our assertions are correct. And you can obviously make great assertions or statements about your experience of a text, but you can't make any sort of well-founded assertions about everyone's experience of a text because not everybody has the same response. So don't leave yourself open for having your argument weakened by that kind of assertion. Stick to making claims that are grounded in the text and that you can prove through the text. Don't leave room for your argument to get weakened based on a mistake like that. And finally, you can assume that the reader is familiar with the work at hand. Don't waste words on unnecessary plot summary. So don't spend half of a paragraph summarizing the first half of 1984. I've read 1984, Aaron's read 1984, and Dr. Linger has as well. So you can be assured that we know what you're talking about, but give us enough context just to understand where your argument is situated. It's a fine line, but I'm sure you'll be able to do it. And that is the conclusion of the Prezi for standard structures, writing according to the Kleistian rubric. So, like I said in my emails, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And the good news is we did attach a sample paper to your syllabus, so if any of this presentation doesn't make sense and it's too vague, go ahead and look at the sample paper that's attached to your syllabus as I go over the things in this video, and it'll make more sense. And the good news about that sample paper is that it received an A, so please look at it and then look at the email that I sent you with the bullet points and look at this video. And then if you have any questions after that, absolutely email me and I'll be happy to help you as much as I can. I have full faith that you guys are going to be awesome and that your papers are going to be tons of fun to read. So have a good weekend. Good luck on your papers, and I will see you in class.